My God, I hate drugs.
Naghain na ng diplomatic protest ang Pilipinas kaugnay ng pinag-aagawang teritoryo sa South China Sea. Ayon kay Foreign Affairs Undersecretary Ernesto Abella, pagtitiyak ito sa publiko na hindi nagpabaya ang gobyerno na ipaglaban ang teritoryo ng bansa. Pero tumanggi si Abella na idetalye ang nilalaman ng diplomatic protest dahil confidential anya ito. Sabi pa ni Abella, patuloy ang diplomatic actions ng gobyerno sa mga bansang may claims din sa South China Sea.
The National Police announces a major shakeup in the assignments of 27 officers. The biggest surprise, the relief of Metro Manila Police Chief Camilo Cascolan more than a month after his appointment. George Cahilas reports.
It's business as usual in Camp Bagong Diwa in Taguig City, despite the surprise change of leadership in the Metro Manila Police. In an order effective June 1, Metro Manila Police Chief Director Camilo Cascolan will hand over the post to Calabarzon Director Chief Superintendent Guillermo Eleazar. Several officers paid their courtesies to Cascolan before he formally steps down. His wife was also present during lunch.
I recognize and appreciate all the personnel of the NCRPO for a job well done. Let's continue to serve with a smile. To all of you, maraming salamat sa inyong suporta.
The PNP leadership explains the movement in some key PNP posts is due to the retirement of some officers and based on the performance assessment of an oversight committee.
We have determined na magkaroon ng reshuffling dito sa ngayon dahil sabi naman nila na para lang magkaroon ng well-rounded career pattern ng ating mga senior police officers.
In the short stint as Metro Manila Police Chief, Cascolan says he managed to ensure peace and order situation during several high-profile events like the Asian Development Bank Summit, Labor Day, and the Barangay and Sangguniang Kabataan elections. He adds the lowest crime rate in Metro Manila under the Duterte administration was recorded under his watch, which makes him wonder why he was removed from his post.
We're doing fine, we're doing good, and I still don't know why we were relieved, but as good soldiers, we will just have to follow.
Cascolan is now assigned to the Civil Security Group or CSG, an operating unit of the PNP's Directorate for Operations, a position Cascolan held before becoming Metro Manila Police Chief. But the PNP leadership denies that Cascolan was demoted, saying that there's just a need for him to be placed to a position that he is familiar with.
Hindi actually demotion yung position na pinuntahan ni General Cascolan because the position requires for a two-star rank also. Yung kanyang designation doon was based on his competence to sa mga the civil security group being once under him when he was the Director for Operations.
Meantime, incoming Metro Manila Police Chief Eleazar is humbled by his new appointment and assures he will continue focusing on the anti-illegal drugs and anti-criminality campaigns.
This is indeed a challenge for me, but I'm really glad and nagpapasalamat ako siyempre sa ating Chief PNP General Oscar Albayalde for his trust and confidence, and I will do my best not to fail him.
The PNP says another round of movements may happen soon, this time among provincial directors of the PNP. George Cahilas, CNN Philippines.
Militant groups are again voicing their objections to the tax reform for acceleration and inclusion law, more commonly known as train law. Our Trisha Terada is in Manila, where a group is holding a protest. Trisha, what can you tell us?
Yes, Pia, we're here at the Trabajo Market, and this is actually a public market for residents here in Sampaloc, Manila. And joining the busy crowd here earlier is a group of protesters opposing the increasing prices of basic goods. And they're putting the blame on the tax reform law. They say if there's any truth to the promise of President Rodrigo Duterte that change is coming, it's the continuing rise in prices and taxes that hurt the people, especially the poor. They're also slamming Budget Secretary Ben Diokno for his recent remarks against the poor. Protesters are carrying out a noise barrage to bring their message across consumers here at the market. Rallyists are also making rounds right now, asking consumers to sign a petition to junk the train law. Protests are simultaneously taking place in different parts of Metro Manila. Pia?
Trisha Terada there reporting live. Well, over in Legazpi City, Senator Grace Poe told those attending a regional consultation on the effects of the train law this morning that government should hasten the release of subsidies to help shield the poor from rising commodity prices. Ho urged government to set guidelines for the fuel vouchers, additional 10% fare discounts and other subsidies to minimum wage earners, those unemployed, and the poorest 50% of the population. These mitigating programs are provided for in the Tax Reform for Acceleration and Inclusion, or TRAIN law.
Unang dapat yung mga vouchers na ibibigay sa mga fuel vouchers, ipamahagi na. Pangalawa, bilisan natin ang pagdidistribute ng pera dito sa unconditional cash transfer kasi may mga ilang porsyento pang hindi nakakatanggap nito. So kahit paano malaking bagay yun.
In other news, telecommunications company PLDT is moving to comply with the Labor Department's order against illegal contractualization. This was the scene earlier today at the PLDT office along Boni Avenue, Mandaluyong. A large group of PLDT employees gathering outside the office, taking up half the street as they awaited processing. PLDT spokesperson Ramon Isberto says the company is putting in place a procedure to process employees covered by the labor order. He explains they need to validate the workers' identities and to fulfill other needs such as medical and physical examinations. PLDT makes it clear it is still seeking a review of the Labor Department's order. Its appeal is pending in court. Labor Secretary Silvestre Bello earlier named PLDT as one of over 3,000 companies allegedly linked to illegal or that allegedly practice illegal contracting. We appreciate all your online comments on our top stories tonight. Keep them coming through our pages at CNN Philippines. We're also live right now on Facebook. The Duterte administration's vision of a golden age of infrastructure comes with a price, and the stakes are high. The country needs to borrow from the likes of China and Japan. But during the first ever business forum of CNN Philippines, Building for the Future, economic managers say the Build, Build, Build program won't result in a debt crisis. Our correspondent, Rex Remigio, tells us why.
9 trillion pesos. This is how much the government will spend to make its ambitious Build, Build, Build program a reality. That's equivalent to roughly 90,000 pesos from each of us. 75 infrastructure projects in the pipeline within 5 years. The cost is unimaginable. The government will need to borrow to cover the project's expenses. 25% will come from foreign loans from China and Japan. These countries already lent the Philippines 400 billion pesos.
The funding is secure for all these projects.
The country's outstanding debt stands at almost 7 trillion pesos in April. This is equivalent to 42% of the size of the entire economy. But during the first ever business forum of CNN Philippines, Building for the Future, CNN international correspondent Andrew Stevens asked the economic managers about a report saying the Philippines could head into a debt crisis. This means more of our taxes will be used to pay for the interest of loans instead of building new hospitals and schools.
Debt to GDP ratio stands at around 42%. Forbes magazine says that under the Build, 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 the massive borrowings, that could blow out to around about 140% over the next 10 years. Is this not cause for concern for the national accounts now?
False news. That projection is wrong. Our projection is it will continue to decline to about 37 to 38.
Budget Secretary Ben Jokno says the country's debt level is still safe as long as its proportion to the economy is 60% or below. Jokno also says borrowing money is not bad if returns are expected. Moreover, the growth of the economy will outgrow that of the country's debt in the next years.
We're confident that we will be able to finance the projects without getting us into a debt crisis. The debt, the interest rates are very low, so we will outgrow our debt. So that report is false.
Private sector leaders, meanwhile, are hoping the government will let them finance some projects. They say this will allow the government to reallocate its funds to other necessary expenses.
And say, hey, private sector, you can participate because there are other things that we might have to address, which might draw on our resources, and therefore it might be welcome for the private sector to come in and assist the government in this infrastructure endeavor.
Economic managers meanwhile assure they will be careful in getting into economic deals with China, especially if unpaid debts would mean offering our natural resources and domestic lands as collateral, just like what happened with Sri Lanka, Pakistan, and other African nations.
You know, we are well aware of that, and we are making haste slowly with China.
Much has yet to be known about the conditions of Chinese loans. But what economic managers are saying for the meantime, nothing can stop us now. Rex Remitio, CNN, Philippines.
Learn more about the government's Build, Build, Build program in CNN Philippines' first business forum. CNN international correspondent Andrew Stevens and I moderated the forum. Catch our special presentation, Building for the Future. Initial telecast at 7 p.m. tonight, only here on CNN Philippines.